Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve, where today we're in Lordran, but sort of a different Lordran, right? Does anything look different? Slightly? But seriously, so quick update, I am working on, obviously, my other mods. I think I got some comments of like, are you still working on the Dark Souls remastered? And I'm like, yeah, well, I meant to comment back, but you know me, I suck at commenting, and honestly, Discord is... Oh my god, I never noticed that brick is so goddamn terrible. What the hell? Okay, well, I didn't notice that brick is terrible. Anyway, yeah, I suck at commenting, and I'm better on Discord, to be honest. But, yeah, no, I'm still working on my other mods. So if I don't post a video about them, it doesn't mean I'm not working on them. I just, I'm usually either real life stuff or... You'll see me post about my Dark Souls 3 mod. I just focus on different mods at different times and whatever's fun at the moment. And keeps my Souls modding brain fresh, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what today is. This is sort of just like a random idea that I was like, wouldn't it be cool if... Which it's kind of based on an earlier suggestion of like talking about how Gwyndolin dies. Or whenever Gwyndolin dies, the illusion is broken, right? And I remember a commenter saying, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if that darkness, like, actually spread to, well, all of Lordran, right? Like, instead of just only Anor Londo, since, well, presumably that sun is also the thing that would be lighting everything else, right? And I think it was more so... Not like a technical limitation, as they obviously could have had alternate versions of all of these areas, right? I think it was more so a gameplay-related thing where they were like, let's just have it be Anor Londo that's dark now, and not everywhere else, because I think the playtesting would say that shit sucks at the time it was coming out, right? But as a mod, I think it works really well. So, anyway, I went through and I... manually darkened the environments, because there are different ways you could do it, and if I did it purely through like the tone mapping, that is like the easy way, but it's kind of the lazy way, as it would actually like darken a lot of other things as well, and like fire and effects, and that's a heavy-handed approach. So I didn't want to do it through tone mapping. I actually wanted to do it mainly through the light bank, the light scatter bank, so that way it's sort of a visible darkness. And I wanted to keep it like this sort of moonlight, which I'll show you when I go to Firelink Shrine, which looks pretty fucking cool. But what I like about this mod is it's not about dynamic shadowing at all. It's kind of a nice vacation from that, where I basically don't need to enable dynamic shadowing at all. And the benefit of that is that you can actually have correct illumination from light sources now, because the dynamic shadowing basically turns off this sort of good-looking illumination. That's one of the things in my Dark Souls remastered mod that is annoying, that the illumination from these like light sources looks a lot worse in that mod, because unfortunately you have to sort of like fake it, and until I can figure out a way to bypass that, but it's like a shader restriction. So you'll see that without dynamic shadowing and just purely baked lighting, which is what we're looking at here, the illumination from these light sources looks quite good. And obviously now it's the backdrop is like a dark Lordran, and so it looks even cooler. And I also was able to import the textures from the Dark Souls remastered mod. So all of my work on the normals and the higher resolution albedo textures, I was able to put in this version, or this mod, I mean. So you'll actually get the benefit of those better textures. And because we're using the player lantern here, you actually get a really good look at the improved textures and improved normals. So kind of cool, and it's a nice way of like still using my other mods. And that's why I work on multiple mods, because I learn something from doing these random other fucking things. It's kind of weird. which I guess I didn't sit at the bonfire, so that's why all the enemies are dead. That is actually not part of the mod, that everyone would be dead. But I do have other ideas for the mod, because it's just kind of a fun thing to work on, of can you make something dark without it looking fucking weird. And it was more work to get it to be dark. A lot more tweaking than I thought it would be, to get it to actually look decent, because there's a lot of knobs you need to be turning to get it to actually look halfway decent, and serviceable. So I definitely want to extend that to others. But I had other ideas for the mod of like, you know, and this is kind of from like a Vati video, which sounds like saying that multiple times. But in one of his videos, he was talking about how, you know, he was talking about Oscar, who basically saves you from the undead asylum, and then he dies, right? And gives you the Estus flask and the key. Dude, that motherfucker is the scariest dude ever. Oh my god. Why are you half T-posing, or you just want to hug? But I will say his leather get-up looks so fucking good with just the point light in the darkness. Holy shit. A lot scarier though. But yeah, Vadi Video was talking about how Oscar, you know, what if Oscar, you know, what if he didn't die? What if that wasn't his end? What if he kept going? What if he helped you with the Gwyn fight? What if he ended up becoming sort of your enemy? Now, you know, for my mod, I'm not actually thinking of that. I'm thinking more so, oop, nope, wrong one. Nope, wrong one. Hey, dark sign. Nope, wrong one. There we go. I was thinking of Oscar, like him not dying in the asylum. So that part's the same. And then what if he is actually the one who's already, basically, as you go through the world, you'll see signs that Oscar has already been there. And he's already killed Nito, for instance. And he's already killed Seath. And he's gotten their Lord Soul, right? And you're like, okay, interesting. You're sort of like following in his footsteps. And then you get all the way to the kiln, and he basically has already placed the Lord Vessel, and you'll see his corpse there or something. Like he made it that far. And then you can be the one to finish the journey or something like that. I don't know. I was sort of thinking of cool lore-related things of like, sort of like that Marvel series, which interestingly I've never watched, called What If? And it kind of reminds me of that, of like a what if, you know, what if Oscar didn't die? What would happen? Where would he go? Actually, yeah, give me the Claymore. This is my New Game Plus character. It's another one. I don't have the Lord Vessel, but that's sort of the idea for this mod as well, is that you wouldn't be able to get the Lord Vessel. At least you wouldn't be able to. Oscar would. And so you wouldn't be able to warp, but Oscar could. And I don't know, I found that interesting because that's something about Dark Souls 1 that I feel like the game is amazing in the first half. And I think it's still amazing in the second half. I just think it's a bit more of a slog. And my mod won't necessarily fix that. But you get the Lord Vessel, and I think the biggest, like, good thing about Dark Souls 1, and there's a lot of good things, don't get me wrong, is that it's the interconnected level design, right? That's the biggest unique thing about Dark Souls 1. Where the hell did you drop from on top of a house? Oh my Jesus Christ. I will say this is a lot scarier when it's dark like this. Oh my god. But yeah, it's the interconnected level design. And so, like, it makes total sense to me that, like, getting rid of the Lord Vessel, and so you can't warp, you actually have to traverse this. Oh, I forgot the player lantern gets really bright in here. Okay, I can fix that. But yeah, like, now being forced to actually have to traverse the world, and a dark version of the world, without being able to warp, I think actually, for me, is preferred. I don't think that warping was necessary. I think it was a quality of life feature 100%. And there are certain areas where warping is like definitely necessary, almost. Like, if you go to Tomb of the Giants, like, technically you can get out, but it is very difficult. So I have to think about that. But it's one where, like, I don't think warping is necessary. And I think it would be cool to have a version and a lore reason as to why you could not warp. Because I don't actually know how it works if you have to be the one who places the Lord Vessel to be able to warp. Or is that just someone places it? And now the bonfires are connected to a certain degree. I don't know if that's ever, like, explained. And I also fell down this, like, hole of, I started reading a Reddit thread from, like, 8 years ago of, because I was thinking myself, I was like, why is it that when you go to the kiln, why is Gwyn fighting you? Because the whole point is to continue the Age of Fire, right? Which would be by your character linking the fire. That extends it. That's the gaslighting that's happening from Frampt, right? And Frampt was working with Gwyndolin, right? And that's what the illusion is about, is keeping this, whole thing going and making sure and gaslighting people so they keep lighting the first flame or linking the first flame. And so I was like, yeah, why is Gwyn? Because he's basically linked it. And then there's some good explanations. I think the simplest explanation is that basically Gwyn, after he linked the flame, he essentially lost his mind. And a version of hollowing, because I think it's humans that go hollow, right? And he is a god, obviously, but he put most of his soul in the first flame when he linked it. And so basically he is just crazy. He's a crazy old grandpa sitting there, and basically he's just going to attack anyone that fucking comes in there. I think that's your simplest solution or answer to that. I think the more interesting one is a Redditor brought up that what if, because it'd be similar to Soul of Cinder, because this thread was right after Dark Souls 3 came out, I believe, or maybe it was 7 years ago, I don't know. And it was actually a really interesting theory that what if Gwyn is actually trying to stop you because he would know that there's no ending this cycle. Like, he linked it, and he found out that's just, you're prolonging the inevitable, that the darkness will come. And so you could sort of extend that to Dark Souls 3, where Soul of Cinder is trying to stop you, which is obviously the amalgamation of every, chosen undead that's linking the fire, right? Or has linked the fire. So your previous characters, plus Gwyn in there. And what if they were also trying to stop you? Because they've all been gaslit into linking it. But once they get there, they go, oh, fuck me. This is not what I thought it was. And so they're actually trying to stop the next one. And yet the cycle continues because that never works. And they actually overcome it. And it's seen as this big challenge. But really, that's just a giant gaslighting, right? So I thought that was an interesting theory. That I think the more likely is just that he's crazy and he's basically a god version of a hollow, and he's going to just attack anyone, just like the hollows that we, encounter throughout Lordran. They just attack you on sight because there's no humanity left, and they're just crazy, right? But I thought it was a cool, like, lore examination. That was a really cool Reddit thread. So not my original thoughts or anything, but I thought that was cool. And let me know in the comments if what your personal canon is, as obviously, like, Dark Souls is not a very straightforward, here's exactly what the lore is. And, it's kept open for interpretation to a certain point, or a certain degree. But anyway, yeah, I was messing around with the Darkness mod, and then I talked for like 15 minutes. So let me know what you think about that, if that's cool. I am doing more work on the Dark Souls 3 mod. I've been removing some baked lighting, baked shadows, and removing the player mask, which basically handles when your character becomes dark or not. And I once I removed baked lighting, that ended up becoming an issue, and then Trivia helped me with that. And it looks really cool. There's actually a lot of instances where once again, FromSoft barfed darkness on a lot of things that, with the default like sun direction and coordinates, would have light and shadows. So I'll definitely do a video on that, because it looks really fucking sick. It looks really cool. There's some really cool upgrades that are there by stripping out some of those baked shadows. And then Dark Souls 2, obviously, I've been doing some work on as well. Kind of bouncing around, so I appreciate you guys being cool about it. And I'm still working on that Bloodborne video, which is not a Bloodborne mod video, just in case anyone thought it was a Bloodborne mod video. It's not. It's more so about the endings and why I think they're unique among Miyazaki endings, and comparing them to the other endings of his games, because I think I don't know, I just realized after I played it through it for the 4th or 5th time, they feel different, and the stakes are different, the outcomes are different, and it's sort of like a unique thing for endings for him. So anyway, thank you for watching this rambly video. And I will see you on the next one.